not been dismissed, but that was rather trending on social media.
No, thank you very much. First and foremost, what happened in Uganda Airlines was something that some of us told them would happen. When they were starting Uganda Airlines, the government had a group of people from transport, finance, and the President's office and Prime Minister's office, and who were at the Ministry of Works, and they called some of us and we talked to them. First and foremost, let me get one point very clear. Uganda is probably one of the best locations in Africa to have an airline. We are between the Cape and Cairo. We are between Dakar and India. So it's a very good place. So in terms of marketing, probably one of the best locations in Africa. So having an airline is good. Secondly, I told them the biggest problem is going to be management. You need a management that will do the job. One, it should not be the conventional board of directors, I don't know what. You need a small task force of professionals who have been in airline between 10 to 20 years to come and start that airline. Because it was a business startup. A startup requires people who have got the acumen of running an airline. That's number one. Number two, I told them about the equipment that they were going to buy. And I told them, if you do, look around our eastern area. Ethiopian Airlines, what is their international vessel they use? Nairobi, Kenya, what do they use? Dar es Salaam, what do they use? And Air Rwanda. Once you've done that, you automatically have a picture what sort of equipment you should buy. The short and medium range, Ethiopian Airlines has a Boeing 737. Our people in Nairobi have an airplane called Embraer. And in Tanzania, they have an aircraft called Airbus 200. Airbus 200 is a replacement of Bombardier. The Bombardier company was bought by Airbus, and therefore they now produce something called Airbus 200. Now, the Bombardier is a fantastic aeroplane. Airbus 330 Neo is a beautiful airplane. Unfortunately, we are the only ones who operate those two aeroplanes in the whole of this area. So to repair them, we either go to Airbus or go to America, the only company that has got a big fleet of Airbus 330 Neo. The Bombardier, we still have to go to Europe or somewhere in America, or Canada probably, to repair it. So that was another big problem that would be caused. But the airplanes are good. But had we got the Airbus Dreamliners, Boeing Dreamliner 787, we would have support from our brethren like the Ethiopians, the Kenyans, and Dar es Salaam. If somebody got a problem like in Lagos, Ethiopian can help us. If you got a problem in London, even Kenya Airways can help us. So these, and even British Airways operates a Boeing 787, not a 330 Neo. So these are the kind of things that we told them. And they listened. I remember when I finished, they even clapped. Now, I thought they had listened. Now the personnel of an airline. When they are starting,
Captain Babu, the airline, is it the airline that bought the planes or the government bought the planes?
It doesn't matter. Whether it's the airline, whoever bought the aeroplane is for the airline. I'm talking about an airline which is a government airline. I'm not going to talk about individuals because I know who they are. They're just big jokers. But let's go to something a little bit more serious. This is what I told them because I was talking to a government and they were starting an airline. So I'm saying the airline, and even after buying, the airline becomes responsible. And the people behind are the government. Fine. Now let's go to the other point. The personnel, like the people who started Emirates, the people who started Qatar, These were people who were put together about 5 or 6 or 7, and they started those airlines. The same thing is happening in Saudi Arabia, where they are starting Air Riyadh. Riyadh they have 70 aeroplanes bought by the prince, and the people who are going to operate are people who started Emirates and Qatar. Now, once you've got those people to start, you can get your own group to understudy these people, and they get trained on the job. By the way, we had done it here before. When we started the Civil Aviation Authority, we actually got people from ICAO to start working with the people we had recruited, managing director, and all the others that followed. And they were trained on the job, and they became probably one of the best. And our Civil Aviation Authority did a very good job initially. Now, those are the areas we looked at. Now, a company like Ethiopian Airlines, which a lot of you talk about, was started by Transworld Airline. Transworld Airline had people who were very experienced, and when they came, Haile Selassie gave them a free hand to start an airline. For them to be able to train people in that airline, they started an Ethiopian Airlines school. They started by training pilots, cabin crew, administration, commercial people, for sale. They trained people in finance, and they started from the bottom and they climbed, and that's where they got all those good managing directors that we are now trying to borrow to run Uganda Airlines. I would like to thank the government, if that's what you people prefer to say, who are bringing in an expert to advise. I would like this man to advise them. However, I just heard you saying a few minutes ago, oh, no, he has not been sacked. No, these are the people who got the Zambian man who was running that airline very well, and they came and said the wrong things. The man has gone to court, and they have caused financial loss to the government of Uganda because they have to pay him. So to me, these people are not bad. Maybe they are very good people. Take them somewhere else. Let's get a small task force to revamp that airline and get it going. Now, the other thing that I want to end up by saying, let us stop this unfortunate thing of waiving degrees and diplomas. We have to be trained. My friend Katon today is a lawyer. When you leave the university, you go to a law development center. When you leave medicine, you do internship. When you leave engineering, you do apprenticeship. If people want to
even as teachers, we do school practice.
Thank you.
In one sentence, is there hope?
Yes, there is. But you've got to get the right team. Let's get a small task force. Ask the board of directors, who are very nice people, to go and rest. Let these people who have been there, who have caused the financial loss, go and rest, and get a task force to revamp the airline. And if you like these people to go back, let them get trained to be able to work in aviation. It's as simple as that.
Thank you very much.
These nice people who we like very much because they are smart and all that, no.
The crux of the challenges and the predicaments this company was grappling with, for starters, leadership. And then it trickles down. By the way, some of the folks that work, the pilots and so on, very competent fellows, people who know what to do, but then they were always struggling because there were issues at the top. Maybe for a bit of history, the issues even began before Jennifer became CEO. She was a commercial director for some time, and she was fired by the board. Why? Influence peddling and other issues. She single-handedly gave a contract to a company called Abavata Group Limited, to which she was a director. Contract worth about 4.2 billion shillings. The guys who did the function, introducing, the airline and blah, 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 the airport, then PR. The bulk of the company actually was for PR. 3.48 billion was just for PR to this company. 3.48 billion, that was just for PR, but then there was another 770 million for that function that they bought drinks and snacks for the guests that came. So the challenge is that she single-handedly, as commercial director, gave this company the contract. And the board fired her because one, she didn't go through procurement and so on. Eventually, when we dug deeper, we discovered she was a director in this company. So this is somebody who gets fired. Now, a few months down the road, the company is looking for a CEO. They hired PricewaterhouseCoopers, the board hired PricewaterhouseCoopers, paid them money, good money, to recruit a CEO. So they begin the process. When they embark on the process, people begin to express interest. Now, days before the expiry date that had been set for people to express interest, the Minister for Works and Transport, General Edward Katumba Amala, writes to the board and asks them to stop the recruitment process, that he has a presidential directive to appoint Jennifer Bamutulaki as CEO. The board was a bit uncomfortable, but they said, well, this is our boss, and what do we do? So they had to cut short their recruitment process and hired this lady. When we began to dig deeper, of course, she was not qualified because there were laid down qualifications by the board for somebody to be hired. She had a basic degree. She did not have, because they required somebody with postgraduate qualifications, masters, and so on, and many other things. So that's number one. But number two, that you're hired behind the doors. Why not go through the right procedure so that they get the most qualified person? So little wonder, issues began to arise. Again, more procurements, handing over contracts to, there's something called Independent Online Media Association, online bloggers thing run by a guy called Andrew Rumba. She also hired them, was paying them 13 million shillings per month to do online work for the airline. But again, the legal department said they didn't know about the contract. During our inquiry, I showed them the contract. The head legal said, I'm seeing it for the first time. I didn't even know about it at all. When she gave them this contract, it was signed in December of 2021. But then she paid them from April of that same year going forward. Anyway, a myriad of issues with the company. People would purchase tickets, some of these regular flyers, Dubai, wherever, and so on. Nearly 1,000 people had purchased tickets once, and they had used those tickets more than 5 times. So you purchase a ticket, but you're in cahoots with some of the management people, so they don't close it in the system. There's something called closing. When you travel, get to your destination, they close the ticket. So they would leave it open. So this person would go, come back, next week travel again, over 5 times, yet they purchased the ticket once. Those were part of the losses that were being made by this company.
In your report that was never presented.
Have you read the report? I shared it with you.
I was going to say I never read it.
It is in that report. Have you read the entire?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
So you didn't see that issue?
I've seen losses, 100 and something billions of losses. Is that part of that's where the losses come from?
If you have the report, it is 0.5.3 void tickets. It's in the report I shared with you. So maybe you hadn't gotten a chance to read the entire. Just go to 5.3, you will see that particular point that I am talking about.
So even though the report wasn't presented, was it? Were the details ever taken up? Maybe by the airline, the ministry?
No, you see, along the way, because our inquiry was in the open, they got a bit jittery and said, now what do we do? Let's try and do some, cleaning up so that we don't look so bad. So they advertised all other jobs except the CEO's job. And I told them, look, the bigger problem is the leadership question. You have a CEO who is not qualified, who was hired backdoor, but who has created all of this mess when she was commercial director and now as CEO and so on and so forth. If you don't fix that, you are going nowhere. Of course, many people said, Joel, it's because you don't like government. I said, of course, I don't like this government for many reasons. The way they operate, bad governance and so on. But I said, away from my not liking this government, the issues I'm raising, they're here, they're on record. Here are the signed contracts. She's not denying them. And you see the good thing, whenever I would ask her, either she would concede or she would keep quiet because it was obvious what we were dealing with. So I said, how do you say I'm witch hunting her? Where is the falsehood about what I'm saying? The committee that I was chairing, like all other committee members, about 70% of the members were NRM because that's the image of the entire house. So every committee will have majority NRM. And they all signed the report. When I became chairperson of the committee, I told colleagues, I said, look, if we are going to do our work, we need to, for a while, forget about the political parties where we come from.
Yeah.
When we get into the committee room, let's do the work we ought to do. What is bad is bad. Don't say because I'm NRM, I'll try and sugarcoat this. It doesn't help you either. And good enough colleagues actually bought into that. So we didn't have...
There was a precedent as well. That committee has done good works in analyzing accounts and so on.
Yeah, sure. And several others.
Yeah.
So I kept thinking, what's different about this anyway, and so on. But maybe there were some powers which were trying to protect this person. I said, protect them as you would want.
The airline?
The person. Because now here we are. How did they protect the airline? Things have gotten worse. Losses on an annual basis, things have gotten worse and worse, as some people would say. So I said, if you don't fix this issue, it does not matter what you do. You can try and cover up, you can try and gloss over it. It will not help us as a country. Every year, government pumps money into this airline. And I kept saying, look, this is money we are throwing down the drain. You are pumping money therein. They are purchasing this aircraft, for which the manufacturer is closing shop, but you're insisting on purchasing this. Now you're going to look for spare parts, and that's the battle we had recently. So where are you going to get the spare parts from? You knew what you were doing. So
yes.
All of that incompetence, who suffers? All of us, because this is our money, all of us as taxpayers. Forget that I'm NUP and whoever is NRM and so on. So there you are.
Honorable Abdul Katuntu, as Honorable Babu and Honorable SSENYONYI are saying, all this was predictable.
It's quite very unfortunate for any regular traveler when you get onto some of these aircrafts to either South Africa, Nairobi, or even India. You find very courteous, staff. The aircrafts themselves are very good. And as Francis says, those 3 routes are always full. So it is not that there is lack of business. Actually, Ugandans, you need to give them credit. They have supported that airline because I am a regular traveler to South Africa, being my second work station. And that route is always full. So is Nairobi, so is India. The issue is, if business is doing well, where's the problem? And that's what really pains. It's not like this Uganda Airlines does not have passengers. Indeed, this aircraft is always full. Actually, rescheduling a flight on Uganda Airlines is one of the most difficult. It's like, no, tomorrow, the other day is full, the other day is full, and so on. So Ugandans have really supported this airline. But what we now see is both technical and non-technical challenges or problems. The technical, Francis, he has talked about it, the sort of aircrafts and so on. And to that extent, I agree with him that you might need aviators, experienced aviators, to help sort out the technical challenges. But at the same time, you go back to what Joel is saying about management. Because some of these are purely, it's nonsensical. It's just bad manners. It's that you can find an institution where somebody travels on the same ticket 5-7 times. It's outright theft, corruption. And this, you don't have to be a technical aviator to see it. I mean, it's all about management and so on. So the issue is, how did these managers get into the offices? It goes back to what he's saying. Once you bend the rules, you guide from the rules, chances that you have these sort of problems are actually high. If there is a process initiated by the board, as the law requires, to recruit the chief executive, let the process go on and let the best win. But once say, no, it is not about that, it is a Wanyoto for some reason, then Wanyoto comes with all her incompetences, with all her ego.
She's going to quarrel.
I'm not
it's an example.
I'm not talking about Lydia Wanyoto. I'm talking about Jennifer Wanyoto, not Lydia Wanyoto. So these are different people. Okay. Jokes alone. Anybody who comes through the ventilator or through the back door, you would have the same problem. But the world all over, airlines do have challenges, especially those run by government. One of them is actually being commandeered by government, and government not paying. Are we sure that government has not had that problem? That at some point, because passengers book flights, and we all know we are traveling on Wednesday, but then Permanent Secretary Bamwine goes and commandeers this airline to go to some other route, and you have these passengers who are now stranded. Then in the process, they lose faith in the airline. I'll give you an example. I was chairperson of the committee that organized the Commonwealth Speakers Conference. We asked Jennifer and Tim to come and see us and say, look here, there is an opportunity for you to market yourselves. We want you to be the official carrier. Never mind that you don't have enough aircraft or the destination, but we want Uganda Airlines to be the official carrier of this conference. You can even advertise it on your website. You can advertise it even on your planes themselves, like you could see Expo something. The Emirates does it. And we are so excited. The next meeting, when we were supposed to give them the details, they sent an assistant, somebody. All the senior officers didn't turn up. I just chased them. These, like France says, these are just jokers. Really jokers. Here is an opportunity to market your airline, to market the country, to the entire world, to the entire Commonwealth. And they sent some girl, I think she works in the VIP lounge there. And I said, what is it I discuss with you? So I said, okay, let's forget about that. Let's move on other. So we forget about that project because I think we are being artificially patriotic and wanting our airline to be a high flying. So rules must be paid.
Because they knew they wouldn't deliver?
They're just not the bunch of not serious guys. Just forget about them. Yet when you come to the technical people, that's where I say this thing is very unfortunate. I don't know you guys whether you travel Uganda Airlines.
Yes.
And you see the staff. Yeah. You see those pilots, they're competent. Everything you would need.
Even the plane itself is
everything you would need about an airline. You have it within. Except there is that very odd Airbus. I think it carries our flag, but I don't think it's a Uganda Airline flag. It's for some other company and so on. Very, very.
It did some subcontracting.
Yeah, subcontracting. It is run by some other people, they know nothing about cuts and so on. But the Ugandans really, it's very unfortunate. These guys who do everything to make this airline tick actually are suffering this negativity because you have a bunch of a certain person who doesn't know her job. Then two, I don't want Minister Katumba to run away from it. He's actually responsible because there is a board which he put in place. He directly supervises the board, and the board directly supervises the CEO. Everybody concerned should actually bite the bullet. All of them should know they fell short. General Katumba is one of those very good fellows. But on this one, I have to fault him. You can't say, well, I wanted to do this, but there was a CEO was this and so on. Even then, what did you do as the minister responsible? What sort of board did you put in place? And I think we need to move away from the culture of finding very incompetent people and we dump them on boards or statutory authorities. It's one of the biggest problems. You've got just job seekers. They just don't know the job. And I privileged, I was honored to have overseen some of them. Many of them, there is a problem with the boards. They just don't know their job and they become part of the problem. You find a non-executive chairperson of the board, but he's behaving like an executive one. He has got a card, he has a physical office, he walks in, every that age is in the office. provided by the SATO, but he's a non-executive member of the board. So he takes it as a full-time job. So it's beyond Uganda Airlines. We just need to do an overhaul of these statutory authorities, the way they work. Otherwise, after Uganda Airlines, you're going to have another one.
Let me get you a bottle of water, Honorable Katonda. Calm down.
I think a coffee.
A coffee. The coffee might heat him up more. Your government, Mr. Fred Bamwine.
Yes.
Have you flown Uganda Airlines?
Many times. But one, when you told me about this topic, I chose to dress like this. Because in me, there are two main things, Pan-Africanism and nationalism. And you'll never find me without anything resembling Uganda. Anybody who puts up our flag anywhere, I feel very proud. So, this airline...
You should also feel very bad when anybody does the Uganda flag and steps.
Don't open it.
Your neighbor, Senyonyi.
So he should be sad that we were beaten for carrying the Uganda flag.
For misusing. So,
but you're wearing it.
So if anybody...
Senyonyi gave you lawyering skills because
if anybody does not see the value of that nationalism at anywhere, then you are hitting me below the belt. Two, this is the second time we are getting a challenge with airlines. There was the first one from independence, which also collapsed. So after some 20 years plus, there's this attempt. But when I was searching around, I found we are not the first and not the last. Airlines have had challenges. But in this particular case, I think it goes to all of us. Much as you are talking of the management and the technical, but there are also players here. I was watching closely when Honorable Senyonyi was investigating this matter. The way it was being conducted, I asked myself, if I went back to my village and reach home and they tell me that my mother has gone mad, is in the town beating people and addressing, what do you do? Do you join the crowd or you get a method to minimize the damage? That's why I got my challenge. Because the committee of Senyonyi and his friend and his committee members were praying to the gallery. I take my time to read. This country called America, which most people glorify, if you knew what is inside, you couldn't do anything. But not everything, they do it in the public domain. There are things they speak in the bedroom, there are things they speak in the sitting room and in the compound. So my biggest take is, if a problem has happened, you are going to Masaka, find an accident in PG, people are dead, others are injured, others are alive. Do you start asking by what caused an accident? You first do the damage control. Then you can come and ask later. So have
you heard of a word called an apologist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So to me, I'm one of those who believe. Today we are talking of Uganda Airlines. There are other government departments. They are not doing well. And we are not addressing the cause. And I think to me the cause, what kind of sanctions or punishments do we have on our law books regarding non-performers and corrupt? What kind? When we have in our constitution everything, everybody is presumed innocent. Even this person we are talking of mismanagement. It's very innocent, presumed until...
That COSASE report spells out monies that were lost.
But that,
16 billion, 165
but does it amend the Ugandan laws?
6 billion. No, but
it doesn't amend the constitution.
So you want to get her conviction? You see,
not her.
When we talk about presumption of innocence, that's a criminal principle for the trial court.
Exactly.
For the trial court, not for you.
Exactly. Because the discretion is on the judge or the trial magistrate.
Yes.
But me, I'm saying, if we want to tour this country, let us not massage. Because when you arrest Katundu, all the Wasoga will come. That's our son. All the Muslims will come. Oh, that one because he's a Muslim. All Manyawich clan. And I'm trying to say, let us help these judicial systems, like the one you did for IGG, simplified rules on corruption.
Mr. Bamutulaki, first pause there. We stop for a break. You be Bamutulaki. Are there some wrongs with Uganda Airlines?
Gross wrongs.
Not only?
Not only wrong, but gross wrongs.
Okay.
Because, for instance, if you could see security forces, not everybody has the same capacity, but the issue of failure to improve yourself, the issue of failure to constantly retool our staff, the issue of rigorous training, and even the issue of being honest and polite, to know that I know this, I can reach here, this service I cannot manage it, either you can even subcontract it or source out, but you know that this is your limit. So as a country, that's why I was raising, we have countries which have been like us, the Asian tigers. They decided one day we must develop quickly. So if you do a wrong is wrong and it's harshly punished.
And they move.
But here you have our law books. Of course, we have lawyers here. They want to continue massaging. This case can go to court and take 20 years. And because that's the system.
So I'm a bit confused. What are you recommending?
I'm recommending harsh punishments to non-performers and wrongdoers. 2, if we are handling a matter of this nature, which has a global effect, the way we should handle it, it should not be for the general happiness. We should have a method. I am told about something called classified expenditure. It is a committee of Parliament which goes and see how the expenditure is being implemented. But you have this thing is very sensitive, which has opponents.
It's classified about this.
No, it's not. What I'm trying to say, it has a global implication. You have competitors. This is a young baby. This is a young baby who has ever fallen down and collapsed. How do you maintain what you have achieved? I think you have heard about protecting the games. So nobody, if there's anything to protect, it is one of these babies. So this baby should be protected and improve where we have not performed well. But my disappointment...
I think he makes a good point. You're saying Uganda Airlines should not be suffering from bad media.
Yes.
Yes.
Not even bad media, even ourselves. Even ourselves.
We've already acknowledged that the experience of flying Uganda is so good that any passenger just on that flight will not even see those problems. So it is not about that Uganda Airlines is suffering bad media.
No, what I'm saying...
If they are safe within Uganda Airlines,
what I'm saying... No, what I'm saying, we have seen the problem. If we have seen the problem, how do we handle it? And me, I'm saying, coming to the gallery and playing in the hands of the opponents and playing in the hands of the international community, it does not work. Opponents in terms of competing with Uganda Airlines. 2, Honorable Katundu has been parent longer. I'm not comfortable with the kind of legal regime that we have. You get such a case, assuming she's guilty or is presumed guilty and taken to court. This case can take 20 years. When shall we recover what has been lost? When shall we have somebody to fear to do wrong because of what happened to me? Because part of security is to scare. But you have this law which massages everybody, is presumed innocent until proved guilty or accepts. To me, I think we need to go back into our boardroom and ask ourselves, Uganda Airlines has gone to this level, who has done what? Who has not done his duty? And should answer for those crimes. But according to the laws that we have now, they are an incentive to continue committing wrongs and crimes. And to me, I'm saying we need to have a full stop. Those who did economics, when a country is developing, there is a stage we call primitive accumulation of wealth. And I think that's where we have entered. When people get these positions, whatever stage, you have even seen the public, these people have been in politics. You go to campaign, before you speak, people start showing you the throat. People have gone to that level. And people don't, they don't call it corruption. So I think it's high time we go to the boardrooms and say, this is a stop. This is a red line. We should not cross this one. Two, I want to invite... I want to invite my colleagues, particularly Honorable Katuntu, who is a bit older. It does no harm, even if you are not in Parliament, to ally with those Ugandans who still like their country, and we come and say, this is where we need to go. Because if we don't do this, today is Uganda Airlines, tomorrow is the next. Because initially they used to say that the government cannot run companies, but there are some agencies which have proved. When you go to where they get the driving permits, no minute. You know what the problem we use to have at immigration, passports. Some departments have performed, but where they have performed, if you went closely, you'll find that the people who are running it, they are fearing something. So to me, I know mankind by nature is weak. Let us help these judicial officers. Let us reform our legal regime. We make it tight if somebody is involved in corruption, because here, there are two things, mismanagement and corruption. Yeah. But if we have to do it efficiently, we need to change our regime. And for instance, I don't see why a case of corruption should pay more than 3 years in court. Why should it? Money has been lost, the country is bleeding, and somebody is on the street walking. But if we continue massaging, then corruption becomes for the tribe, becomes for the church, then we are missing the point. Otherwise, I'm one of those who are saying, whoever has not played his role efficiently in Uganda Airlines should answer according to the existing laws. But we need to include.
What did you do? It says you follow Abdul Katuntu's line. We supported you. Retired Major Awich on Uganda Airlines, trending now.
Yeah, thank you so much. On Uganda Airlines trending, I have my views, but permit me to comment about an obiter which Honorable SSENYONYI said about his views of not liking the government.
Speak English. Obiter is not English.
Well, but it's but it's the same person who taught me. It's a common term.
Yeah, so I the problem goes back to speak those sort of things in the courtrooms.
But courtrooms is even a higher standard than this one. So if it is acceptable in courtrooms with such tight level of evidential proof, then this one is acceptable. But anyhow, what Honorable said was in passing. In passing, if you wanted, the obiter, in that he doesn't like this government, and he said for reasons that he knows. And he's not alone. There are many people who don't like this government, but at the same time, there are many people who like it. But the bottom line is that every 5 years, we regularly ask people, how many of you like this and how many of you don't? And a decision is made. So it is your democratic right and others not to like it, but it's good that we have instituted. That's why I was saying in obiter it is good that institutional frameworks is there to address that. Now, on the question of Uganda Airlines, what was crossing my mind is that there seems to be an agreed position or a consensus that the competency of the ED is in question. And there's also seemed to be a consensus that money is lost. But I also like to say that we are here and others in the trending that we may not yet have exhausted the provision of hear the other side. Hear the other side. Because we are talking from this side, we have not heard the other side. That is the person in issue. It is true that this committee tried to do something. You could think that they gave a hearing, but still a hearing or at that level lacks the required standard of evidential proof. And that is why commissions and inquiries, even when they conclude their findings, is still subjected to courts, because courts are the only one with maximum evidential proof. Therefore, it is at some point we may have to hear the other side of the story. But my concern here is that if the issue is the competence of the ED, which has had its resultant loss into money, it is true that General Katumba is saying that he got that instruction to make the board not continue with the recruitment. And I think this was riding on an implied wide discretional provision that His Excellency enjoys as a head of state. He has a very wide discretional powers that he would use. And therefore, you'd ideally understand that the minister is just doing a delegated work of the president and downwards. So we only hope that the president, if he does exercise his wide discretional power and chooses to direct that somebody should be appointed, we know and hope that he acts judiciously in good faith. The challenge here comes, like in any other appointment, whether a vice president, a prime minister, a minister, or everybody else, that the president exercises his his discretional power to appoint. They get the challenge of the work. And therefore, and it is common among all Ugandans, therefore, the view should be taken from how effective does this person benefit from this discretional power exercised by the president to have her in this position. Is he competent? And if she's not competent, what are the issues that are always raised to address? Because even the head of state himself, after exercising such discretion, he would at one time even tell the person that I did my part, you made me understand that you were competent, and now that you are not, then otherwise. So there should be institutional framework to check this, and not only in the case of Uganda Airline appointment, but in all appointments. Because again and again, we're going to find ourselves into discretional positions that are appointed like this. And therefore, they should be subject to their meeting of the competency that is required.
Mr. Awich, Mr. Paula Awich, now I've concluded that I'm a very patient person, because I cannot work out where you are. I have been trying. Where are you on the matter of Uganda Airlines, in your opinion?
I'm also getting problem understanding
like your opinion on the management of Uganda Airlines.
It is what I've been saying. Well,
no, you are talking about appointments.
What?
You are talking about appointments and disappointments.
Yes, what I'm saying is that, you see, my teacher there knows that in the bigger narrative of issues...
Your teacher did a poor job.
Yes, in the bigger narrative of issues... In the bigger narrative issues, you can come and narrate stories and stories. But in the narrative, we fish out issues. And that is why I fished out issues in the narrative of Uganda Airline that the issue, the consensus which raises to me two issues is that one, the issue seems to agree on competency or incompetency of the ED. Issue two is the loss of the money. And that is why I'm saying...
No, I'm with you.
Yes. All along you were not.
I was not.
Yes. So you learn it that
Yes.
normally when we get narratives, it's a big narration. We should be able in our mind to deduce from these narratives what is the crux, and that's what in law we call issues. So these are the two issues, and that's why I was saying the two issues gets resolved in the fact that the person in issue was directly appointed by a directive. And that's why I'm saying directives for people who are lucky to benefit from discretional appointment should not be left free from subject to competency.
Or scrutiny.
Yes.
I understand. Lydia, you've sat patiently, waited, all discussions out.
But you know, she has been talking too long in campaign.
So she's resting.
She's just fresh from cover.
You want me now to begin?
No.
Who are talking? This is my time, and I'm going to go.
Indeed.
The story of Uganda Airlines, listening to people that have closely associated with it, sounds very sad. And we hope that going forward, there will be an opportunity to get it back. But let me just first of all give my personal experience. I don't travel as frequently as some people have said on the gang, but I travel quarterly for work. I know Katutu knows about the APRM and work at the African Union on peace and security. So I travel quarterly for meetings. And they ask us the preferred airline. From the onset, when the Uganda Airlines started, I said, I'm going to fly Uganda Airlines. In the past, the security flights were consistent. Then after some time, the people that book for us to travel would keep saying, your flight has been rescheduled. So it began causing turbulence in the timings of the meetings. But I insisted I want to travel Uganda Airlines. Then I noticed, including the recent one that I traveled on, the quarter, December, is that we were 10 passengers on the flight.
Which route?
It was Entebbe, Joburg, direct flight. 10 people. Yes, we were 10.
This is a personal experience.
So I was
recently
I
also
was
had
concerned.
relatives on Uganda Airlines and they had a rescheduling and they spent the night in the airport.
So we were 10 and but it was a direct flight.
They all direct flights to Joburg.
To Joburg. So I began now asking myself, this is a loss. I mean, the moment you do not have, you can talk about at least half or 3/4, but 10 people. And it's a scheduled flight.
It
you have
could
to
have been
fly.
a one-off flight.
Maybe, but for me it opened whatever. But there are other flights when I was traveling. I found people in decision-making positions like the level of Katuntu. They had booked Kenya Airways, which must first of all land in Nairobi and connect. But there was Uganda Airlines that was going direct. So when I talked to them, we find that they were not even comfortable. So sometimes it costs to be patriotic and to be to sound national. That you take your child to a government school, but the policymakers do not take their own children to those schools or health facilities. So when I hear this conversation, I really hope that it should stop being business as usual. Why? Aviation industry is very sensitive, extremely sensitive. I also got worried when I saw the negatives being discussed in public because it affects the clients. The people don't want to travel when they have a choice and they've had their issues. So I also had a problem with that, even at a personal level. So when we hope that the discussion about our airline we'll bring all the responsible minds to put it back to the reason why we revamped Uganda Airlines. It was about our national pride, which I really want to stand for. It was about tourism. You know that crescent crane, moving in the air, you see? It's so beautiful. So for me, I think the objectives and aspirations still stand. That we want to fly Uganda Airlines for tourism, our national pride. I mean, who does not fly Uganda? Because and even bring down the cost of travel. Before we had the airlines, without mentioning, that had a monopoly on our route. And the tickets were so high.
Thank you.
So we said, no, if we have our own airline, we shall be competitive so that we don't have to get a rip-off on our travel. Because if you don't have your own airline, the other airlines are really costing us huge. I mean, imagine a flight of just 45 minutes. Yeah. We were paying between $400, $500 economy. But when Uganda Airlines came on board, the cost of the travel was like coming to a balance. So for me, like you said, I was listening in, but really we want answers. We want answers. We want our airline to fly. We want to be proud, the pride of our country. We want to do tourism.
Because I've used Uganda Airlines to Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, Zanzibar, and Nairobi, Mombasa. And it is the best way to go, especially as I've said, when you are on the plane.
So we really hope that the challenges will be listed and fixed one by one, so that we get back to the objectives, and that these flights should get back to be full, and let everybody traveling from Entebbe choose Uganda Airlines with confidence, and be able to make sure that I also want to say that I think we should also minimize pulling down our airline despite the challenges. Let's use the forums that can help us put back, because when you put on this internet and then everybody will not choose Uganda Airlines to travel and yet want business. So if there's an issue, maybe to Committee of Parliament, to the Ministry, but not. People are celebrating as if it's a very good thing. Why are you celebrating a loss of a job of one person? It does not make sense to me, because the airline is bigger than us individuals. It's about our country. It's about our pride. And it's very costly to the taxpayer. So even that, I think we should be more sensitive, more intentional and deliberate about supporting why the airlines got back in the air, and we should be proud that the crescent crane is up in the air and we protect it. It's one of our protected gains that we should bring home.
Yeah,
that is all I can say.
Joe, our friend, coming from the media, Andrew Mwenda, really you'd say did not help the airline, because he kept posting as if it was breaking news. And then I've also understood that the CEO, her contract is running out. It is not a case of that she'd been sacked anyway.
No, but she's resigned before that happens. She was asked to resign. Anyway, the media bits and pieces.
Is it factual that she was asked to resign and she has resigned?
You don't know?
Not many people know that she has resigned.
So Fred Bamwine said that the challenge he had with me and colleagues on the committee is that we're playing to the gallery. I know some little English. Playing to the gallery means to act in an exaggerated way to try and appeal, whether it be to the public and so on. But all the things we were saying were on record. We didn't say she stole 500 billion when it was 400 billion or misappropriated or whatever. And by the way, even when we were conducting this inquiry, truth is there's a lot that we left outside of the media. We had audios, conversation exchanges, email exchanges between whether it be the CEO and some of the contractors and so on and other stuff, and some actually where you listen to the audio and they have veered off business and they're having a romantic conversation, and then you wonder why they were handed the contract without following procurement guidelines. On one of those times, I asked her, on this day, at this time, did you speak to this contractor? A day before you handed them the contract. She said no. I said, I have the audio, can I play it? And she said no. So I left it out, because now she had conceded. So there's a lot that we left out, because we're also human. There's things you're saying, okay, if I play this audio with all the exchange they were having, it probably will shatter her for life. But I wanted her to first concede that she actually had a private conversation with this contractor before handing him the contract the following day without following procurement guidelines. And then I left it out. So there's a lot actually that we did leave out. But you see...
And Lydia says you have to be also a little bit patriotic.
Yeah, but you see, you should be thanking us for pointing out the ills. That's what patriotism is. So when you cover up gross ills, corruption and so on, that's what you call corruption. I mean patriotism. I thought if I am saying this person has misappropriated money, this person has stolen taxpayers' money, I'm giving you evidence to take action against them. So you should be thanking me for being patriotic.
What about you?
Hold on, Lydia. Let him just finish his line and then we'll get to you, Lydia.
Yeah, so the whole patriotism, I don't know why we use it conveniently. So when you're being hounded for the ills you're doing, you guys are not being patriotic. I saw how the media has always been hounded. Why do you show these images of the military beating up people, beating up journalists? Why are you beating them in the first place? So you're blaming the media for covering the beatings, but you're not blaming the military for beating innocent people. So you're saying, you media, you're not patriotic. You show all these images world over, our country looks bad. Our country looks bad because you are making it look bad. So where is the problem? And
I think the problem where it is, at least this is not the first country in the world. There are the other countries
which also beat,
who are even superior than us.
That's your justification for being different. Let me make my point without being interrupted, Oscar.
But other countries, the countries I'm mentioning about, you'll never see these things in the public, Oscar. And they do them. So that's why I use the analogy of your mother. How do you manage a situation?
No.
If you have a home, do you put everything in your home in the public? It is your home. And it has happened. What do you do?
I don't know how to respond to it, but let me move on to the issues.
Between Joel and Freddie, the Auditor General had emphasis on matters. One of them was the loss of 164.6 trillion.
That was that year. The following year, it was a lot more, and so on and so forth.
19 billion, 211 billion. All this was lost for 2020-2021.
Yes. So the following year it even upped and so on. But that's when you don't deal with the critical issues. That's when you gloss over them and cover them up so that you look patriotic. Then the issues will never get to be dealt with. Now I'm sure Bamina is unhappy that Ugandans were complaining whenever they were stranded. And so the delay is 10 hours, 1 hour. So they complain on social media. I'm sure Bamina was saying, why are you being unpatriotic? Why are you exposing these things about what do you want the people to do?
Saying that he also got tired because they were once in Nairobi and the plane was taken away to take some other people. So all seven.
So that's the thing.
Before we go for a break.
But Oscar, if you went to rumors, you get challenges. There was even a rumor why SSENYONYI's report didn't come to Parliament. That there was some unhand hearings.
Kachumbala said,
but the Speaker denied it based on the order paper. It was on record. I stood up. I said, I have the report here, Madam Speaker. Can I read it? She said no. So who took money if there was any money to be taken? But finally, Oscar.
About rumors.
No, this one is not a rumor. It is on record. Finally, you see, when we don't let institutions function, this is how we get where we are. Major which Paula was saying the president has got wide discretion, and so he can appoint disregarding a process by the board.
But he has refined it. He said, when you are appointed, do your work.
No, but you see, when you're appointed the wrong way, there's no work you're going to do. When you're not qualified, what work are you going to do?
Okay.
When you're not qualified to do the work. You see, you're not going to ask a monkey to swim and you expect it to swim.